Todd Dangerfield joining us from Downtown Development Authority. We're talking about the renovation of Oldtown Square that'll get underway in February and should be done before New West Fest. Todd, thanks for joining us. Let's start by talking about people's reactions to the idea of making this change in Oldtown Square.
Some of the reaction we've heard mixed reaction for, some people say, well, gosh, it's perfect. What are you doing? Why are you changing anything? Why do you want to do anything different? And it's basically infrastructure of, if you looked around close, the pump system for the fountain is band-aided together. It's 30 years old. Some of the seat walls, there's rebars showing for support showing through it. Pavers are, uneven in the plaza, things like that. Those are the types of things we're talking about. The other thing is the stage has become very popular with musical acts that are programmed all throughout the summer. And we have space concerns with when there's larger acts in the square with the crowd flowing out all the way to the steps of Ben & Jerry's, for instance. It kind of restricts pedestrian flow. So we're in the new designs, we're looking at moving the stage north a little farther towards Walnut Street, eliminating the kiosk building that's between the stage and Walnut Street right now, relocating the restrooms to one of the buildings here in Oldtown Square. We're also looking at an additional water feature in the middle of the square, the northern side as well, too, which would be like a pop jet feature. Some of the things we're keeping that are endearing factors are all the planters and trees, and all the trees in the south end of the square. Very popular, the annuals that are planted there. People really like those. They're really beautiful. The fountain that you see now with the geese on top is going to be reconfigured, but really preserved with the rocks and the geese in a different formation. We've got a lot of mixed reactions about the rocks. People really like the rocks. They want us to turn the geese around, though. They say the geese are flying the wrong way for pictures. So I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but that's kind of the feedback we've gotten through this extensive public engagement process we've been going through for the last 6 months.
Will people be allowed to play in the fountain? They're currently not allowed to play in the fountain. Will the fountain be more like the Oak Street Plaza where you can interact with it as much as you want?
This current fountain, I was talking about the rocks and the geese. That one will not be interactive that they play in, but I just described a pop jet fountain. It's called a vernal pool that's going to be located between the current fountain and the new stage area on the north side. So in the open area, the big wide open area of the north part of the stage, or part of the square, in the middle, there'll be a vernal pool with pop jets. So this is something that kids can run through, walk through, interact with. That kind of water is very similar then to some of the parks around the city as well, too, that have interactive pop jet features. Oak Street Plaza, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
That would add some more vibrancy, some more daytime use in the square. A lot of the use during the day is people just traveling through or going to destinations in the square. We want to try to find ways to have this be a destination for families like Oak Street Plaza is, for instance, during the summer.
It's working beautifully in Oak Street Plaza. You see people there with their kids all the time, and as soon as the kids see that there's water running, they want to stop and hang out. And I think it's really a difference between the way the things were built back in the 80s and the way the things are built now. Back in the 80s, that design made a lot of sense. It was beautiful, and there's regulations. Don't play in this thing. And now I think we realize, hey, people want to play in it, so let's build it so that we don't have to put up a sign that says keep off.
It's interesting. You mentioned how things have changed. Designs have changed, designing for landscape. And if you notice in our current square, we have permanent seating, these seat walls. And it creates pockets of areas that are cut off from public flow.
Yeah.
What we want to do is eliminate those areas that you see and create a more versatile seating area. Again, looking at Oak Street Plaza with the tables and chairs, for instance, what we would like to set up there are different areas of bistro-style tables and chairs. These are the lightweight chairs and tables. So people can create their own seating pocket areas. And the stage that we're creating, too, we figure the stage is really only used 2% of the time. 98% of the time, it's an empty space. What we want to do is create a stage that it'll have a
flow.
Permanent... Yeah, it'll have flow. It'll have a permanent canopy over it, but with daylighting through it. And it will also have support bistro tables and chairs and be a more inviting place for people to come.
Flow is being taken into consideration now. It's so cool.
Absolutely. And with the kiosk elimination, the other flow is the visual flow.
That's big.
Yes, 30 years ago, the story is the kiosk was put in its place along with the spruce tree at the end there with Walnut to mask the blight of North Linden, because in the late 70s, early 80s, that wasn't looking so swell down there. So now it looks great.
It does look great. It looks amazing now.
Yeah, we're trying to create this view corridor now where you could stand in the middle of the square right in front of Ben & Jerry's and see all the way down Linden Street.
Well, that's going to go both ways because you're going to be on Linden Street looking into Oldtown Square with a band playing, going, I want to go over there. And then people who are from watching the band are going to look down Linden Street and see all those beautiful restaurants with their open glass and say, I want to go down there. So it's going to really cause a back and forth flow.
That's a great point. We want to create a space where people do say, I want to go there.
Yeah.
So visually, with lighting, things like that, as an attractant. And one more feature I'd like to talk about, too, that we're going to add. We want to create a fireplace feature on the south end of the square, too.
Cool.
And if you know where the current drinking fountain is, we want to take that out and put a horizontal fireplace feature there that people can sit around, in an elongated fashion.
Gas?
Yes, gas fireplace. It would have hours of operation. It would not be the eternal flame,
right.
Kind of a theme.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is it's very successful in many applications, even here in town in different areas, south of town, south of the downtown, but also in ski resort areas and stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're always packed. Those areas are always crowded at the ski areas.
Yeah. Another visual attractant. And that would be, people could see that coming off of Mountain Avenue, for instance, and say, hey, look at that. Let's go sit over there. And it would also enliven that eastern side of the south end of the plaza as well, too. That doesn't get the traffic that that west side gets. People walk by Lucky Joe's and that side mostly. That's the pedestrian flow. We want to attract more people up to the other side of the planters.
So you're going to be going from something great to, oh, my goodness.
I hope so.
Yeah. I mean,
that's our intent.
It's great. I wondered the same thing because you said when we started off, people were like, why are you changing anything? And I was kind of like, yeah, it's pretty good, but we're not a pretty good city. We're a pretty amazing city.
Yes.
And I think that square is really the heart of all of it.
Exactly. And it's once I have conversations with people and you start talking about these things, then they say, yeah, that's really great. I think it is. It does need to be better. And then the other thing they say is, aim higher, but just don't do anything that's going to take the charm and the intimacy away from the square.
Well, it sounds like you have a pretty solid plan there. So let's talk about logistics. What are we going to be facing? How long is it going to take? What's the square going to be like while you're under construction?
Right. So we're looking at a construction start of mid to late February this year, and we're hoping to finish before New West Fest. So that would be a great inaugural for the square. We are very aggressively creating a campaign to attract people to the square during construction. Now that always sounds, when you say attract during construction, it sounds counterintuitive. But the point is we have working businesses on this square, and we have to keep them alive and vibrant during this construction. So it's not a tear the whole thing up at one time and start, in little sections.
Right.
It's about keeping it open. It's about working with the businesses to work in front of their stores when they're either not open or at their slowest times and not hamper their business. And we're also creating events around the construction to attract people to the construction.
So you'll be doing phase by phase, shut down one section. All you have to have is enough space for a wheelchair to get through, kind of like sidewalk distance there. And people will be able to walk right around the construction and continue to frequent these businesses, go to the restaurants, watch the construction, be a part of it, understand what's happening, and enjoy it all the way through.
Yes, the idea is to keep it open, keep it a view corridor, keep it interesting.
Great. I really appreciate it, and this sounds like a great project. We'll love to keep people updated, so if anything changes, please feel free to be in touch and let us know, and we'll get the word out there.
Great. Well, thank you, Paul. Appreciate the time.